The extra lengthy All-Star break arrives at a very good time for the Minnesota Twins, who experienced a wave of injuries in their final week of the first half. Still managed a 3-3 road trip with the thinned out roster, and now the Twins will turn their attention to resting up, getting healthy, and overcoming a 4.5 game division deficit in the second half. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Twins Daily Week in Review podcast. I am your host, Nick Nelson of Twins Daily, bringing you this show on a Monday night as opposed to our usual Sunday evening publishing. I was in San Francisco over the weekend, just got back today, had the opportunity to go check out a couple of those Twins games at Oracle Park, my first time visiting the stadium. And I got to say, it lived up to the hype. Truly a beautiful ballpark, some incredible views and sight lines from all around the field. The quality of Twins baseball played there, maybe not as beautiful, but that's okay. That's secondary. I had a great time in San Fran. Now back in time and excited to recap the final week of the first half with you. So this is your weekly snapshot for Monday, July 8th through Sunday, July 14th. Twins went 3-3 last week in the final week leading up to the All-Star break. Their overall record at the break, 54-42. They are 12 games above 500 and on a 91 win pace. Twins run differential last week was -4. They were outscored by their opponents by 4 runs, but their overall mark on the season still a very healthy +47. The Twins enter the break in second place in the American League Central, 4.5 games behind the Cleveland Guardians. They were able to pick up a game and a half despite the 3-3 week because the Guardians, folks, finally starting to slip a little bit, maybe. Hopefully a sign of things to come. We'll see. They're finally coming off that crazy 110 win pace that they were on for a lot of the first half. They are 6-7 in the month of July. A quick look at the game results from last week for the Twins. Opened the week in Chicago with an 8-6 victory over the White Sox, a back-and-forth game that swung Minnesota's way in extra innings. Tuesday, they were rained out. Wednesday, a straight doubleheader. The White Sox took the first game of that one 3-1. Very uncharacteristically quiet game from the Twins offense, which has been so strong. Their first loss of the year to the White Sox. They bounced back and got the win in the nightcap of that doubleheader, a 3-2 victory. Brooks Lee and Carlos Correa hitting key back-to-back homers. Yohan Duran slamming the door on that one-run victory. And then they headed out to San Francisco over the weekend. A 7-1 loss against the Giants on Friday night. Rather listless defense, a lot of missed opportunities in that game. Pretty ugly one for the Twins. They were able to bounce back and win on Saturday, 4-2. Big home run from Carlos Santana in that one. Some strong pitching from the Twins. Another great outing from Duran to close the door. And they lost the final game of the first half, 3-2. Another pretty ugly defensive game, leading to a walk-off loss against the Giants in their 96th game of the season. We'll get to the good and bad of the final week of the first half shortly here. First, want to touch on some roster news and notes. After spending the minimum 15 days on the injured list due to right arm fatigue, Chris Paddack returned last week. He was activated on Monday and made his return to the mound that night in Chicago. Josh Winder, who had been called up into the bullpen for a few days to fill in after David Festa was sent down, headed back to the minors to make room for Paddack, who made a couple starts last week. He gave up 3 earned runs over 10 innings, so solid work from him in his return to the rotation. On Thursday, the Twins placed Kyle Farmer on the injured list with a right shoulder strain, which he's apparently been dealing with for a while playing very poorly. Not cool, dude. Jair Camargo recalled to fill in the roster as a third catcher. That proved to be a bit of an odd decision as the Twins were pretty undermanned leading up to the break, and he never really saw the field. On Sunday, the Twins moved Jose Miranda to the injured list. He's got a strained back. Called up Diego A. Castillo, the infielder, not Diego Castillo, the reliever, who appeared out of the Twins bullpen earlier this year, in order to kind of offset some of this thinned out positional depth in the infield with Kyle Farmer, Jose Miranda, and Carlos Correa all unavailable over the weekend. Things got bad enough on Saturday that Christian Vasquez had to start at third base. And you won't be surprised to hear, if you didn't have a chance to watch, it was not very pretty. Hopefully this is just a minor issue for Jose Miranda. Twins taking advantage of the All-Star break to get him some rest on the injured list while missing minimal time. Obviously, opening up that roster spot was necessary as well to get Castillo up. He started at third base on Sunday. And I think that the fact that it was Castillo and not Edouard Julien called up as this interim replacement probably hints at a short IL stint for Miranda. I would think if Miranda was going to be out for a longer time, they might want to go back to Julien, but Miranda's going to be eligible to return next weekend already, I believe, on Sunday. So, you can use the IL here, and ultimately he'll only miss less than a handful of games if all goes well. Caleb Bosley, the right-handed pitcher designated for assignment to make room on the 40-man roster for Diego Castillo. On Sunday, also, the first day of the MLB draft took place. Twins made 4 selections, 3 shortstop-type collegiate infielders that are coming off big offensive years, and a high-upside lefty high school pitcher. Kalen Culpepper, the name of the Twins' top pick in that one, pretty highly touted bat from Kansas State. The highlights for the past week of Twins baseball, got to start with Matt Wallner. He's making a huge impact in his return to the lineup. Wallner was crushing the ball all over the field this past week. He had hits in 5 of his 6 starts on the way to a 7-for-21 stretch that included 2 home runs and 2 doubles. Wallner's OPS was at 584 when he was sent down back in April after just 13 games, and it's now up to 824 on the season. So a 132 OPS plus for Matt Wallner right now. That is to say, he has been 32% above average, and that is in line with where he was last year as a rookie. So a big, much-needed turnaround for the lefty slugger Wallner, and just want to see him keep it up here in the second half because he can be such a big force in the bottom half of the Twins lineup, really, the type of piece that makes this such a dangerous offense. Carlos Correa wrapped up his all-star first half in fitting fashion, performance-wise, 6 hits and a pair of home runs in 17 at-bats for Correa. He's hitting .308, which ranks 3rd in the American League and 5th in all of baseball here at the All-Star break. There was some unfortunate health news for Correa, which we'll get to shortly, and that's going to prevent him from participating in Tuesday's All-Star game. But the Twins will be represented by Willie Castro, who was added as an injury replacement for Houston's Jose Altuve. Carlos Santana missed out on his second career All-Star game nod, but, he was definitely deserving of consideration at first base, which is amazing to say, given how Carlos Santana's season started for the Twins. Last week, he only had 3 hits in his 5 games, but he also drew 3 walks, so he was getting himself on base. And one of those hits was a crucial go-ahead homer off the foul pole in San Francisco on Saturday, helping the Twins secure their only win of the series. Byron Buxton is another player enjoying an all-star caliber first half, and he really closed it out on a heater. He was 6 for 13 last week with 3 doubles, although like several other Twins players, Buxton also seems to be a little banged up, so this 5-day break hopefully coming at a good time for him. The pitching staff deserves a lot of credit for helping the Twins avoid a losing record last week. Their shorthanded offense was pretty ineffective. They were held to 4 or fewer runs in all but 1 game, and that's not what we're accustomed to seeing out of this lineup that, as I mentioned, has been so consistent and explosive for most of the season, since really the first few weeks. Simeon Woods Richardson is a name worth calling out, I think. His outing wasn't great on Saturday. He didn't make it through 5 innings. He got through 4 1/3, but he held the Giants to 2 runs, maybe without his best stuff, and he had 7 strikeouts, and he kept the game close enough for Minnesota to squeak out that victory. I think it's really tough to overstate what a crucial impact Simeon Woods Richardson has had for the Twins rotation. They went 0-4 in Louis Varland's first 4 starts before they replaced him with SWR, and behind Woods Richardson, they've won 12 out of 16. So I think that really speaks to the fact that, he might not always pitch brilliantly, and he certainly didn't pitch brilliantly on Saturday, but he pitched well enough to give them a chance, and they were able to pull it off. And I think when you have a pitcher like that in an offense like this, it's a good recipe, as we've seen, a .750 winning percentage in his 16 starts. Another strong week for the Twins bullpen, led by a hugely encouraging outing from Yoan Duran. He allowed 1 hit and no earned runs over 3 innings in his 4 appearances last week. He picked up 2 saves and a win. The big highlight for him was on Saturday in San Francisco. Really finally seemed to rediscover that missing fastball velocity that we have not seen all year. Always been sort of a storyline following him around and people just wondering what's going on. But he finally flashed 104 on the radar gun for the first time all year. Also, we saw several 103s and 102s pop up in that outing. So hopefully a sign that whatever was amiss for Duran is finally turning the corner. And it'd be great to see him back in his classic form down the stretch here. I talk often about just how absolutely crucial he is for this team and its success, especially when we talk about, possibly making a playoff run. Duran supported by some really strong work from Minnesota's other righty relievers. Griffin Jax pitched 4 innings, allowed 1 run, had 5 strikeouts last week. Cole Sands, 3 2/3 innings, 0 runs, 0 hits, 4 strikeouts. Jorge Alcala, 3 1/3 hitless, scoreless innings with 2 strikeouts. Overall, the Twins bullpen allowed just 5 earned runs in 22 1/3 innings last week. That's good for a 2.02 ERA with 23 strikeouts and 7 walks. Dating back to June 1st, Twins relievers have the 6th highest win probability added in the majors. So really an underrated facet of this team and its success over the past 2.5 months, I think. Turning to the lowlights from this 3-3 week for the Twins, as good as those right-handed bullpen arms have looked, the lefties in the Twins bullpen have inspired, I would say, significantly less confidence. Last week, the trio of Steven Okert, Caleb Thielbar, and Cody Funderburk combined for 7 1/3 innings, 5 strikeouts, 3 walks, hit by pitch, 2 earned runs allowed. Just not too impressive. Both Thielbar and Funderburk at this point have ERAs over 5 on the season, and Steven Okert is at 5.79 since the end of May. Really tough, I think, to trust any of these guys when the Twins have a matchup-based need to go to a lefty. So I think you can really look at left-handed relief help as arguably the team's plainest need at the trade deadline, which is coming up here in just a couple weeks. The front office could also look to add another starter at the deadline. I think a lot of that might depend on their level of faith in Paddack, who got solid results in his return from the injured list, but continued to show a lack of consistent juice in his arsenal. Paddack's fastball was frequently back down in the 90-91 mile per hour range on Sunday, which is a couple ticks at least below where you want to see him. And that suggests that really that brief time he spent on the shelf, just that 15 days, wasn't very effective in building him up and restoring his strength. So again, you just kind of wonder, was it worth it to bring him back for these 2 starts when they could have just held him out through the All-Star break, given him truly almost a month off? And again, I understand that that's easier said than done, and there's a player who has his will in this as well. And I also can see the argument for, hey, the trade deadline, as mentioned, suddenly just a couple weeks away. And the Twins front office needs to make some evaluations here on what they can realistically expect from Chris Paddack down the stretch and into the postseason. I think at his best, Paddack has looked like a playoff caliber starter. He just hasn't been at his best that often, and he's pacing toward a career high workload. I think right now projected for like almost 150 innings, which would be about 10 past anything he's ever done in a season before. And of course, coming off that lost season, coming off his second Tommy John surgery. Maybe the Twins just trying to get every opportunity they can to get a look at him and see what they really have in him, but going to want to manage him carefully, I think. Of course, Paddack and all the other pitchers on the team will benefit from sharper defense being played behind them. That has been, unfortunately, a recurring theme of late, and the Twins punctuated their first half with truly a display of sloppy fielding that was the epitome of what we're talking about here. Multiple misplays contributing to San Francisco's walk-off hit on Sunday, which I saw that the Giants Twitter account aptly described as a little league home run. Manuel Margot chasing a drive in center field, taking an ill-advised dive at it, throwing it in. Brooks Lee, the relay man, making an ill-advised throw to third with really no chance to get the runner. It sails over the third baseman's head out of play. I don't even think there was anyone backing up the play. It was just ugly stuff, and we've seen too much of that lately from the Twins. So I think cleaning that up in the second half needs to be a big focus. our trending storyline here at the All-Star break. Uh, the Twins were largely healthy throughout the first half of the season. That's something I've talked about a lot as a refreshing aspect of this season, at least relative to past seasons. And that's played a big role, I think, in their emergence as one of the best teams in the league. They've had their horses available and playing well. But unfortunately, the bad injury breaks really began to mount here in the home stretch leading up to the All-Star break. Royce Lewis, as we know, already sidelined again with that groin injury. Theoretically, we should get an update on his status next weekend coming out of the break, and maybe we'll start to get a handle on how much longer we can expect him to be sidelined. Jose Miranda now on the injured list with that lower back strain. Byron Buxton sat out both Saturday and Sunday's games after a wall collision on Friday in San Francisco. And on Sunday, we got one final gut punch for good measure with the news that Carlos Correa is once again dealing with plantar fasciitis, the very same issue that tanked his 2023 season, albeit it is now in a different foot, his right foot rather than his left foot, and reportedly less severe. Let's hope that to be the case. Needless to say, the Twins will need to navigate all of these situations with these crucial cornerstone-type players very carefully. I talked on this show last week about my preference toward just placing Correa on the injured list following, a second hit by pitch in the hand that knocked him out of the game. Even if there wasn't a serious injury, just to give him an opportunity to get off his feet and rest up and take advantage of this All-Star break. And I understood then, and I understand now that is not such a simple premise because the Twins need to prioritize winning each game as they chase Cleveland here in the division. And players want to play, just like we said with Paddock, the player has a voice in this as well. But I do think this development, whether or not it was avoidable, it just serves as another reminder about why precautions can be worth taking, playing it on the safe side and sort of thinking long-term and maybe making short-term sacrifices in that scope. Because I do think that the Twins need to be thinking big here. This is a team that in my mind has the upside and potential to make a real postseason run and potentially win it all. They've got all the requisite ingredients, but it hinges so greatly on the continued availability and health of guys like Correa, who's been playing like an MVP for most of the season, and Buxton, who has been playing like an MVP of late. In his last 22 games, Buxton is hitting .395 with a .432 on base and .741 slugging percentage. While playing a great defensive center field. I mean, this is the Byron Buxton that we know. He's been in peak form. You look at those two, and of course Miranda and Lewis, maybe the four most crucial quality bats in this lineup, all injured to some varying degree at the All-Star break. I think, unfortunately, that is the big storyline at this moment. So going to be very interesting to see coming out of the break who's in the lineup. What is the status of these guys after getting 5 days off? I think one thing that's worth noting based on what we were just talking about with Correa and Buxton especially, getting them back on the field regularly in the second half and playing their game at close to 100% is going to be so crucial in addressing and correcting some of the aforementioned defensive issues that have really been plaguing this team. Two of the better defenders in the league at their position. Closing out, as we always do, with a look ahead to the next week. It's going to be a quiet one in terms of game action because the All-Star break is here. Twins with 5 days off. So they will thankfully have lots of time to lay back and lick their wounds. Their next game not coming until Saturday when they open a brief 2-game weekend series at Target Field against the Brewers. Pitching probables have not yet been announced for that series, although if the Twins pick up where they left off in the rotation, it'll be Bailey Ober and Pablo Lopez leading them into the second half. So 12 games above 500, 91 win pace, very much in the division race here with Cleveland starting to let up a little. It's an exciting time for the Twins, and I'm really looking forward to this second half. As a final note, another exciting note for the coming week, Joe Mauer, Twins legend, will be inducted into the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown next Sunday. So in light of that occasion, if you are interested in some fun Joe Mauer-related reading, I took the opportunity to put together a little ebook project that features 7 different essays about Joe Mauer's career and legacy, ranging from serious to silly. There's something for everyone in there, I think. There's a story that looks at the top 10 moments, most unforgettable moments of Joe Mauer's career. There's sort of an alternate reality history piece in there that is a depiction of the NFL draft in 2005 if Maurer would have gone to play football at Florida State instead of playing baseball. There is a review of his fictional rap album that he never made, based on the lore of Joe Maurer supposedly having a rap studio in his house at one point. So, Joe Maurer, a unique, lovable, special character in Twins history. It's going to be great to celebrate him next weekend. And I'd love it if you checked out the ebook. It is available to download at any price of your choosing. That includes free. If you want to chip in a few bucks as a thank you, I'd really appreciate it. If you like my work here or on Twins Daily, spend a good amount of time on putting this together, but it was a lot of fun. So even if you choose to grab it for free, please, not offended at all. I would love it if you just download it and enjoy it. And please just let me know what you think. That is available online at bit.ly/Maurer Essays. That is bit.ly/Maurer Essays with a capital M and E. So that'll about wrap it up here. If you've been hanging out, checking out the show throughout the first half, we really appreciate you. We'll be back next Sunday with the review of the short week. And until then, enjoy the All-Star break and go Twins.